and welcome to this episode of the Blogging for Your Business Summit, where you'll find content marketing strategies to increase your traffic, supercharge your brand awareness, and catapult your revenue. I'm your host, Ashley McGarity of Strategy for Your Blog, and I want to make a deal with you. Can you commit to taking one action after you watch this training today? All I ask is one. So, on this episode, we have Barry Feldman. Barry is the online marketing super freak at Feldman Creative. And Barry has been featured at the Content Marketing Institute, Convince and Convert, Marketing Profs, and a long list of digital marketing publishers. And today we're featuring him right here at Blogging for Your Business. He's also the author of 2 books, including The Road to Recognition, and I love this, SEO Simplified for Short Attention Spans. And so, Barry, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got here?
How I got here, you invited me. Well, thanks for that, Ashley, and thanks for including me in your summit, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. How I got here. Well, I am a veteran of marketing and advertising, I guess. After my education, which was in communications, I went to work in the advertising agency business, and I worked for a handful of them. When you work in that business, you tend to change jobs as agencies come and go. And anyway, I think I, over the course of about 10 years, worked for 4 small to mid-size advertising agencies. And then in the mid 90s, after having, I guess I should mention I was a copywriter and ultimately a creative director. And then I chose to go to work for myself in the mid 90s and called myself Feldman Creative. I'm wearing my Feldman Creative hat here, and been a solopreneur ever since, really sort of serving as a, you might say a freelancer, but my resources are kind of deep. So I'm a consultant and a copywriter and creative director to a wide variety of clients, largely in technology. I spent a good deal of time in the Bay Area where most of my clients were in tech, but perhaps the most interesting thing is the timing of me and the age of me of being, going solo, and in the mid 90s when digital marketing first began. That's when everybody was scrambling to make a website and learn the basics, such as using email for marketing purposes. And so it was about 5 years later, I think, when search really grew up, and we learned how important that channel was. And then it was probably about 10 years later when social grew up. So I've been there all along. I did, I watched the web grow, and I've been around to see the whole evolution of digital marketing. And it was probably, I kind of regret saying this, even though now it sounds better than it did 10 years ago. I probably started getting serious about content marketing about 10 years ago. I read about content marketing. That term came to be, thanks to Joe Polizzi and the Content Marketing Institute. And I paid close attention to HubSpot, and then I bought their book, which was called Inbound Marketing, and I read it, and I said, I better get serious about doing content marketing on my own behalf. So I've been blogging now for 10 plus years, and I've written thousands of articles. You mentioned some of the places they're published, and of course they're published at my website.
Amazing. So, you've really been in the trenches like the entire time.
Content marketing consultants, I guess the great ones aren't, I shouldn't say they're easy to come by, but there's a lot of people that consult on content, or more broadly digital marketing, more specifically maybe blogging or email or SEO or whatever their specialty is. But I don't just help people figure out how to do it. I like to stay aboard and do it for them and with them. And so the writer in me comes out at that point. And I forgot what your question was, but yeah, I've been the trenches. Yeah, I guess if you call them that, I've been there.
Yeah, I love it. So, Barry, your talk today is fast track your content marketing plan. So, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right, sounds good. You see a racing flag here. People, I found when I created this presentation that I'm about to deliver, which almost speaks for itself. It's available as a download, and it's available on SlideShare, and it's available on my website. And I'm going to editorialize and try to drive some points home and tell you what you need to know. But just reading it is probably all you need to do. But I'm glad to talk you through it. And it's based on, or it's inspired by the idea that um, people fear content marketing planning. And so what they do is they commit what content marketers call random acts of content. So they just dive in, and that's not a strategy for success. And so you should have a content marketing plan. I guess my slides tell that story. So here we go. A Content Marketing Institute often published research that showed that most companies don't have a content marketing plan, and most companies don't succeed with content marketing. They try it, they do it for a little while, and unfortunately, they conclude that it didn't help. Content marketing is not a quick fix as a solution for any company, really, and so it takes time, and it takes persistence, and takes resources. But to begin with, it takes a plan. So you have to connect the dots between these two ideas and come up with a plan. And so here we go. I'm gonna tell you how to do it. Here's a solid plan for creating a content marketing plan. And the idea is to put it down on paper. So when somebody says, "Do you have a content marketing plan?" You can with confidence say yes. And when you bring aboard somebody, or you are pitching it to executives or what have you, onboarding freelancers, you're going to share the plan. So there's going to be 8 steps, and in one of the final slides, I will review what they are. And the first one is to establish your main objective. Now, this is not to say that you can't have secondary objectives. And so you fill in this blank, and I guess I made that easy by putting in 4 ideas that typically are the most common ones. Generate leads is certainly the most common one. And establish great authority, might as well be on the list, even if it's the primary one, or even if it isn't. If you are creating content for educational purposes, that is indeed what you're doing, if you're doing it right. And so you can see these objectives continue: increase intention, build community, increase retention. In other words, you're doing content marketing to customers. So there's a lot of different objectives you can have. Start off with your main one and put it down. And again, don't necessarily refrain from establishing secondary ones. Now, when you have a content marketing plan, it should answer the question not only what your goals are or your objectives are, but how will you measure them so that you can progressively improve. And so based on the previous slide, let's say generate leads goes in that blank. You need to answer the question, what's a lead? And that could be a number of things, and you could have different kinds of leads too. But to keep it simple, let's say we're trying to build an email list as one of our objectives. We'll call a lead an email opt-in, but you can call a lead somebody that downloaded a coupon, or attended an event, or went to a webinar, or took a trial or a demo or what have you. So it's up to you to define the metric, but what the idea is, in the end, you're going to have a set of objectives and a short list of metrics for measuring them. And so, document this. Ultimately, you might, I think I get to this in one of the final slides, make a little dashboard where you keep track. But to say it out loud, or to put it down on paper, or in a document, you'll say something like, we will measure, our objective goes there, and record it with the thing you're going to use to measure at some time interval. For example, we will measure leads with opt-ins and record them with MailChimp's reports weekly. So our plan is starting to take shape. Next up, personas. People avoid this one too. It's work, but it's important work. And so the second step in fast tracking a content marketing plan is to create personas. When I do that with clients, I use templates. There's a variety of templates that make it easy, and you fill in the blanks. and you're sort of prodded by an example. And so the one I use most is like 4 slides, maybe 12 to 15 questions that HubSpot has produced. And so that's easily found if you want their template, or you can look me up and I'll point you to it or send it to you. But I made an even more to the point template just to, or maybe not more to the point, but more consolidated, just to demonstrate the simplicity a persona could have. Now, what's a persona? A persona is a person. Give them a name. You know, it's Ashley in advertising. I like to use a little alliteration to make it easy to understand. You know, so if you're selling to advertisers, you know, maybe the person's name begins with an A. So as you can see, I'm making it up. So it is a fictional customer, but a realistic one. You might even throw the word fictional out if you're having trouble creating your first persona, and just personify your best client, right? Because you're going to want to replicate your best client. So give them a name, describe what their job is, um, establish what their most pressing needs are, and document the following. What are their responsibilities in their job? Some of these things sort of overlap with each other. What are their pains and pleasures? You know, ultimately, you're looking for what keeps them up at night, and you're going to produce content that you know has something in it for them, if you will. What's their role in the decision making? You know, we do content marketing ultimately to you know bring people from outside into our fold and ultimately turn prospects into customers. What influences them, and that does sort of overlap with the media, but it could be people, you know, it could be events and so forth. So we want to know where we'd find them, right? That's we want to put content in their path. So that's an example, or well, it's a template anyway of persona. Examples are easy to come by too. So don't skip that step. Take it very seriously, and consider if you sell to lots of different audiences. Maybe you have, you know, for instance, affiliates. Yeah, that's not that great of an example. Maybe you have a B2B side of your business and a B2C side. I'm working on a content marketing plan right now, where the two personas are in supply chain and in marketing. Interestingly enough, so obviously those people have you know different needs and problems and challenges. So create as many personas as are important for what's going to become your content marketing. So what's your story? Obviously you need one. And so the third thing I say is to establish your unique value proposition. I sometimes wonder whether the word unique belongs in there, but you certainly want to be unique if it can be. You know, certainly there are going to be things about your company that are unique, but what it delivers might resemble competitors. It almost always does, but it's become kind of a catchphrase to mean, you know, the elevator speech that answers the question, why do people do business with you? And I suppose my unique twist on a unique value proposition is the answer that is probably not just the thing you sell, right? Like I sell content marketing consulting and copywriting, but is that good enough? And I say, no, you want to uncover an emotional take on that. So let me show you what I mean. I just made up a company that I called Say Hey Payday. And so if we just said, you know, what do they sell? They sell payroll, you know, cloud-based online payroll service. But you see here, while I wrote this example in gray, I blackened the things that I think have an emotional appeal. Say Hey Payday puts employers' minds at ease, knowing they don't have to fuss with the tedious task of issuing paychecks. So I think I explained what the company does, but I hope I made somebody feel something at the same time with those three things in black. So the fourth step is to establish your content marketing mission. Various leaders in the content marketing space have laid down simple instructions for doing this. I'm going with the one I discovered first and referred to most often, once again, um, by Joe Polizzi, the founder of Content Marketing Institute. So he says there's 3 steps to establishing your content marketing mission, and the goal ultimately, and he comes from years ago, but he comes from the publishing industry. So let's say you're a magazine, you have you know a specific audience, and you have a specific mission that you're on to, in terms of um, what you're going to deliver to them. So let's go through this 1, 2, 3. Articulate your approach to the content and industry. Clearly define whom the content is for, and state how the content will satisfy the needs of those that consume it. So that may sound like a lot, but it's three things. Say, hey, payday. Here's an example, keeping with the same fictitious company. Publishes a blog and information resources. So that's the what. For employers of 5 to 5,000 people, that's the who. And this is the why. To teach them ways to create a happier and more productive workplace. I think that's a pretty good content marketing mission that could, be on a plaque in your office, or just, on a sticky in your computer, just to be reminded of that every day when you go to work in the content marketing function for your company, you are, accomplishing or aiming to accomplish this mission. So to catch up, you have nailed your story. We now know and have documented why you matter and why your content will too, and the plan's coming together. So now this might be a review for some, but let's understand now that content is not only for the top of the funnel, meaning when a prospect first discovers your company. So let's step through the three um, levels of the funnel that make it complete. Some companies divide it even more, particularly in the middle of the funnel. But for the sake of simplicity, we're going to go with funnel 1, 2, 3, top, middle, bottom. So the top of the funnel, somebody discovers your company, and that's typically called awareness. In the middle of the funnel, it's typically called evaluation. Sometimes it's called consideration or comparison. And sometimes companies, like I said, break this into more than one piece. But in the middle of your funnel, you've got a prospect now. They've demonstrated interest somehow. They've opted in maybe, or they've read a number of your pages, or they've attended your events, or what have you. So he or she is doing research, and your challenge is to help them with their evaluation, right? You want to disqualify those that are not going to be a good fit, and of course, sell to those that are. And that leads us to the bottom of the funnel, where sales and marketing should work closely together to create content that attempts to drive action. So simply put, content that closes the deal and makes the cash register ring. So here's an example. This is HubSpot, and you'll see lots of these online too. Where, and I should say, like, these things that you see on this slide can fall into more than one category. But typically, your downloadable stuff, you see their white paper ebook. I don't know why it doesn't say blog there, but your blogs, your how-to videos, those go in the top of the funnel. And this, of course, goes from left to right, but you can think of it as going from top to bottom. So the blue is the middle of the funnel, and that's where you're going to have case studies and FAQs and so forth, product information. And then at the bottom of the funnel, sometimes there are offers and tools and things that will help sellers sell. And you got to consider yourself a seller too when you're a content marketer. The lines between sales and marketing are certainly blurring in the age of all things digital. So think of that funnel again, and use this type of way to take inventory of what you have and include what you don't. So, a very obvious thing to put at the top of the awareness would be a blog. And a blog or some type of resource hub or vlog or what have you, where you're going to focus your efforts in the digital space and on your website, are largely for the purposes of awareness. Can you put a case study in your blog? Of course. But so what you want to do is say, do we have a case study? Where are we going to use it in the sell cycle or buying cycle? And what do we need? Like a lot of times this bottom of the funnel is neglected, or at least it's neglected by marketing. And so the people in sales are uh, are out there making their own content, because they need to put on a pitch deck, or put on do a call, or content marketers should and could help what's called sales enablement, building tools to help them present and demonstrate and deliver offers and what have you. Proposals. It depends on your company and its structure, but what's it going to take to do a good job, not just for awareness, but from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel and the points in between. And so you might make two of these, one's what we have and one's what we don't. Or what I often do is I color code them. So yes, we have a blog, and yes, we use these social media, but no, we don't yet have an ebook. And so use a different color for that. That's going to help you. You'll see work towards an editorial plan, which is coming now. So to catch us up, we have defined who our customers, potential customers are. We've decided why they do business with you. That is our um, selling proposition. You stated your content's purpose. That is our mission statement. And you listed your content production needs. So it's time to satisfy them now. And so I've mentioned some of these things. If you forced me to give you a list of content formats, it would be a lot longer than this. But these are where most companies start and often stop. And you could do yourself a world of good by even picking just a few of these. But I don't think I need to read this to you, but think about content formats and what you're going to have the resources and budgets to create, and perhaps informed a little bit about what other companies are doing in your market, but most importantly about the tastes that the media tastes and preferences that we've defined prior in the personas. Sorry. All right. So I suppose this is the most difficult step, create an editorial calendar. But if we know who we're speaking to and why and where it fits in our selling cycles, then we're going to begin to figure out how to answer the questions people have, and do that in various forms. But to keep this simple, it is a summit about blogging after all. You would populate a spreadsheet, and there are, of course, cloud-based services to help you create editorial calendars. But in one way or another, you would say, all right, at this time interval, let's say you're going to publish once a week to get started. You would put the date down and who's going to write it, what it's going to be called, what format it is, who it's targeted at. You don't have to do all these things, but I think I got this from Content Marketing Institute. Oh yeah, I did. There's a link down below where you can get your version of it. And so they covered all of the important bases. And I've seen them have less, and I've seen them have more. They could have steps in the process, like um, research, first draft, editing, what have you. But the idea is to have a queue going forward, especially if you're going to have a multi-author blog or a multi-author team, so that you can achieve some level of cadence and develop some processes, and be ready to go with a little bit of advance notice. So typically, companies that are serious about blogging have an editorial calendar that looks from a month to a quarter forward. I suppose you could plan it out even further, but things change, and that's probably important to mention too. You should be like a little bit nimble about making changes, but you don't want to be caught not having content, and or like I said earlier, performing random acts of content. So this step is what people that are managing blogs are responsible for doing. Now, ultimately, most beginning content marketers learn that even if they're creating great content, they're not necessarily uh, having a large audience consume it. They sometimes call it crickets. I'm writing all this stuff, and we have a pretty steady blog, and it's high quality, but nobody has discovered it. Well, that takes some work, and so that's called content distribution, promotion, amplification. And so there's many ways to promote or distribute or amplify your content. Nice little this slogan or saying goes back a few years now, but Jay Bear said it and I loved it. Content is fire and social media is gasoline. So content marketers almost entirely or almost always have to consider using social media as a distribution network. But that's not it. And so here's a list of the ways that you might distribute your content besides obviously publishing on your site. You can do any of these things. Develop advocacy programs. I guess that's kind of evolved to become what marketers call influence marketing. Email search, paid search, advertising. Paid search is a form of advertising, but there are other forms of advertising, and sponsored content and guest posts was really big in you mentioned the 3 or 4 of the places that I have been published by. Well, when I was getting started with my blog, like I said, I discovered that the audience was small, and the thing to do about that is to go and get published somewhere where the audience is big, and so guest posts is a big part of that process, and public relations, and so this is very simplified, but you want your plan to include its promotional strategies. Excuse me, need a drink. So, how are you going to promote your blog? We'll promote our blog via Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. It's maybe that's too simple, but that's a start. You probably want to do that via newsletter too. And another example, we'll promote our webinars via newsletters, e-newsletters, and pay-per-click ads. So this is up to you how you're going to do it, and it's probably going to be some experimentation to figure out how to get the most bang for your buck, at least where um, money is concerned. But whether the media is paid or organic, the price of organic is time, and so you'll want to put something down and then make adjustments and going forward. And we're at the 8th step now, and I actually mentioned it in the first step when we discovered, or when we discussed objectives, and so we've come full circle. And I say, now that you know the answers to these basic questions and you've fast-tracked your content marketing plan, what are you going to measure? 3 months from now, what's success going to look like? Will you have high-ranking search terms? Will you have lots of page views? Or increased page views? Will you have a greater time on site? Will you have a lower bounce rate? The list is long. I propose that you look at the list and consider the various things that we'll call a KPI, key performance indicator, and make a dashboard that you can answer, fill in the blanks with simple tools, most often Google Analytics, free tools that will answer the basic questions about how you're doing, at least on your website. And that's your content marketing plan. What did I say here? That's the foundation of a successful content marketing program. Like I said, is a plan, and there's a pretty strong correlation between those that plan and those that succeed, and vice versa. So these are the 8 steps again. I'll just put those up there for a sec. And I should say that, I talked about fast tracking your content marketing plan. And the idea was to, get over the fear of it and discover, thanks to this lesson, that it's easily done. When I do a content marketing plan, I offer or just include expanding it to include other things. And so these are some of those things. I very much like to understand, who we're up against, and look at not only how the competitors position themselves, but what they're doing with content marketing and the related tactics such as SEO. And while I mentioned having a dashboard to collect metrics, I like to put benchmarks down saying, here's where we are now, right? So when we're trying to get more money and more resources, we have a timeline that shows things are going up as they go to the right. keyword strategies could be, it's kind of an ongoing thing, and it's a more challenging and difficult part of content marketing planning, which requires uh, yet more learning. But seeing as how I wrote that book you mentioned, SEO Simplified for Short Attention Spans, um, I help people um, consider the importance of keywords and how they might rank on page one of search for the content they produce. Lead capture, that is strategies to um, get people's contact information, in most cases their email, and what you do with it next is nurture that. So I often explore ideas for that. That's typically done via email. And content sources for subject matter expertise. That is, I guess that could go under the persona, but that question is like, what magazines do these people read, or if it's online, what digital publications do they read and depend on? What conferences do they go to? What books are, the Bible of this particular industry? That is good to know and inspiring, and often will give you ideas. Roles and responsibilities. That is like, okay, we're gonna like a typical program that I'd be involved in would have a client. On the client side, there might be some contributors either from product or marketing or both, or they might already have established relationships with freelancers, and then they might separately from me have a marketing analytics agency, if you will, or an SEO team or a PR agency. So it's good to add those to a content marketing plan. And of course, it's good to understanding who will do what and whether or not advertising will be involved, have some budgets. And so I have come to the end here, and there we go. Additional content marketing planning resources are just a click away. And as we'll talk about, we're going to put some valuable stuff in our viewers' hands. So these are resources, or 2 out of 3 of these are resources that I've written. And so they're yours if you'd like them. I'm done.
Excellent. That was so jam-packed. Um, so we're gonna jump into our final questions for the day. So first, how can a business owner find more fun in their content marketing processes?
Well, hopefully the person that runs that ship steers that ship thinks marketing is fun, and so there's a lot to be learned, and research is easier to come by than ever before, and listening to the market is easier to come by thanks to social media and Q&A sites. But I think based on my experience, the most fun part of progressing down the path with content marketing is meeting people, because you're going to want to collaborate, and you're going to want to tap the minds of
Mm.
experts. And so as you meet people, be they partners or collaborators or competitors, I suppose can go on that list. The list is long, but most of the stories I tell about content marketing are about other marketers that I've met and write for and work with and collaborate with. And then things happen because of that. I mean, I don't mean it to be self-serving, but I mean to say that the human element is really what makes it fun. And, when you start making friends, you start opening doors for opportunities.
I love that. And I know from talking to you personally that has been really huge for you, being able to connect with people, that has just been a huge part of your story. Um,
Right. I mean, when you and I said, all right, we're going to do this together, we planned a 15-minute meeting and we spoke for an hour and a half, right? And
yeah.
so, I try to anticipate that, because if I feel like, this is somebody I should know or could help, pay it forward, what have you, or could be the other way around. Good things will happen because you and I know each other. During that call, I introduced you to, or said I'd introduce you to some other people that you might want to include in your summit. So yeah, that's really what I'm talking about. I mean, that's the friend list gets longer.
Yeah, yeah, that's I love that so much. So if you could leave just one single action step for viewers to take after they watch this training today, what would it be?
Can I do two?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So one is obvious. Do this. I'm pointing at my slides. Do a content marketing plan. That's why I spoke about that at length today. But I saved a precious idea for the editorial part of your plan, and that is to start paying close attention through every channel possible, every question a prospect asks. Ask your customer service people, ask your sales people, ask the CEO. What do they ask about? Do they ask about competitors, prices, um, new features, problems? The list is going to be long. It could be infinite. It's going to, vary. But the idea is to do content marketing well is to answer your customers' questions.
Mm,
And so while we may have never heard that one before, all day every day that's what you're doing. If you look at your outbox of your email, you're answering questions. So make a list of those, make it as long as possible, but at least make it 25 to 50 questions, and make those cornerstones of your content marketing plan.
yes, I like to keep a spreadsheet for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's you can find them on Quora. You can find them on social media. You can find them on Reddit. So there's other ways to do it, but the best way to do it is from within. If you have a customer facing staff, their job is to answer questions.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So you have a free gift available for our viewers. Why don't you share about it?
Well, it'll be this, I think, unless they can want to sit through the video that we just made over and over again. Fast tracking it will be easier if they have their hands on this presentation. So we'll make that just a click away to its landing page, or we'll upload it there. I'm not sure exactly how to distribute it. And I've mentioned my website. I guess I may or may not have mentioned its URL. It is feldmancreative.com. Simple as that. Throw .com on there. And this is one of many assets in a library full of resources. And I want to mention one other thing that you'll find on my website free of charge is what I call a content marketing roadmap, which is a massive hub page, if you will, of 30 plus resources and tutorials and stuff like that, largely articles that I've written about different content marketing topics. So I make a ton of stuff free, but I think relative to this thing, you should at least download this presentation.
Yeah, so you guys can get this exact PDF so you can have all the templates that you need for every step of this plan just by going to the button that's right below this video, and you can download it. And
Okay.
then, yeah, like he said, his website is just chock full of free resources you can download and read. So, very valuable resource for you guys. Um, so, would you like to share any final words of wisdom with us?
Mm, man, that's a challenge. um, I guess I'll go away with this. I think I challenge you to be, an information sponge, because this is, a vast topic. But at the same time, I assume you already are, because here you are, learning from
Mm.
experts on specific topics that are going to, make you understand content marketing and evolve. But go out and figure out whose content about the topic of blogging and content marketing, the digital marketing strategy, appeals to you, and start reading and downloading and reaching out to experts. And like I said, building your network of friends and collaborators, and forever uh, collecting valuable knowledge. I'm big into business books, as you can see behind me if I'm still on screen. And so that's a big part of it too.
Yes, yes. So I want to say a huge thank you to you, Barry, for breaking it all down for us today. Um, my final thought for you guys is to encourage you to remember that we made a deal at the beginning of this training. I wanted you to pick at least one action step that you're going to take now that you've watched it. And I want you to go in the Facebook group and share with us what action step you picked, what you're committing to doing, because we want to celebrate with you. We want to cheer along with you. So that's what we had for you today. I want you to stay tuned for the next episode and yeah, bye guys.